30s, I think. I think class was kind of downgraded from the very beginning well, the student movement was, you know, many people going to college were from working class families, but already there was this middle class idea that everyone was in the middle class, and then of course the racial privilege or white privilege that existed. So that class, or either that, or there were these, you know, tiny Marxist groups that were just the rhetoric of working class. They made you hate it, you know, and so that wasn't helpful either. Those who focused on it as the only thing and condemned anything else you were doing, you know, because it wasn't working class. So how to raise class? I mean, I felt it's my mission. I'm sure you have for a long time, but I don't know how on a you know, working with some of the movements. I see class mainly class as an issue being raised in some of the in Black Lives Matter, you know, in Left Roots out in the Bay Area that is developing, and these are mostly young people of color who come from working class backgrounds. And I think, you know, the IWW, the renewed IWW, it didn't really get going that much in the 60s, but now I think, you know, there are really some serious organizing, some of the best organizing at Whole Foods and the Bay Area. The class consciousness, and I would say that they are really kind of getting it, you know, the class consciousness, race and gender. But they're still mostly young white people. You know, they have a good consciousness of racism, but in fact they aren't interacting that much. And I can't tell them how. I mean, that's just very difficult. You know, how to bring things together. But I think a class consciousness is you know, without it being you know, turning into a oppression Olympics. You know, as my friend Betita Martinez always said, a competing, you know, who's the most oppressed. And remind me of Sammy Davis Jr., who used to say, I'm black, I'm Jewish, I have one eye, and I have to be the most oppressed person in the world, you know, as a joke. He's saying this one-eyed black Jew. And so I think we have to, you know, start generating some real populist analysis of this society. And I try, you know, with this Indigenous people's history of the United States, I try to do that. I do think the element that's left out that makes it as the barrier to class analysis and consciousness is that you know, it's a settler state. And if you look at, say, another settler state, the Pied Noir in Algeria, Reed Camus, you know, he was one of them. They were poor. Most of the, you know, white Algerians, except the bureaucrats, they wouldn't have gone there, you know, to work or farm if they hadn't been poor. They would have stayed in France, and yet generations grew up there. So when, you know, the Algerian resistance, the Civil War, this is really clear, and it's clear in Fanon's work. And I think Fanon really captures the class element, you know, and we need to look at things like that and say, the U.S. is more like Algeria, the colony of Algeria, than it's like France or England. If we start, you know, a different frame of reference and looking at what we have to deal with in our consciousness, you know, how our brains have been formed as settler colonialists. And so I think that's been the barrier. You know, we've tried to follow the sort of European or Eurocentric class analysis line. Not that Marx should be abandoned, because Marx's analysis of capitalism and accumulation. This is all extremely important, but the United States is exceptional, not in the way the right wing